The PR team has been denied in the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively case. What does this mean? We're going to jump into it. Not a great sign if you're looking for other motions to dismiss in the Lively camp, as the judge is now saying this idea that you're not a part of the trial, get on back here. So we're going to cover that. Also, Colleen Hoover with the wackiest Instagram story. People are wondering, is she okay? We will be covering that. And I'm also going to read the full declaration by Jed Wallace, the PR guy out of Texas, who says, I got nothing to do with this, and I'm willing to swear on that in court. So while some PR is running away, some is doubling down, saying we are here to share the truth, and we're going to get into it. I'm Dave Neal. This is a very important video. I mean, multiple things going on here. Multiple. So, let's just dive right into it. What happened was, and again, everyone's doing this. No one wants to be in this trial, of course. Blake Lively's publicist asked to be removed from lawsuit, defends actress against Justin Baldoni's claims. Publicist Leslie Sloan's attorney wrote in the filing that Blake Lively bravely spoke up about Baldoni's predatory behavior, right? And of course, Ryan Reynolds has doubled down, calling him a predator. Well, here's what the judge had to say. You know, they do this whole thing. We represent Leslie Sloan, and here's the reasons we think we should not have to be a part of this trial. The courts should have discretion to stay discovery pending decisions on a motion to dismiss. So what they're saying is we don't want to give any discovery up if there's a possible motion to dismiss. Well, the judge says this: the motion for a stay of discovery is denied. So whether or not denying motion to stay discovery on May 15th, May 15th, 2024, I guess, is that the next date for, that was from last year. So they're citing a court case. To the extent that the discovery requests exceed the bounds of what is permitted under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26, the Sloan parties may move for a protective order. So the judge is saying, nope, no, we're not going to delay this thing anymore. You're part of it. So this is the sort of burdensome, they claim the discovery sought as to the Sloan parties is unduly burdensome. The Wayfair party served a striking 370 requests for production of documents and all of that. And the judge goes, nah, we want to see it. We want to see what's going on. So that's where that stands. And now what does this mean? Well, there's a lot of people right now worried, depending on what side you're on, that Blake Lively is going to get out on a technicality, right? Because she's arguing in her motion to dismiss, hey, I filed a harassment complaint against Baldoni. He cannot sue me in retaliation. I think it's called the Me Too law in California. You can't just sue somebody but if Justin Baldoni can prove that she filed that claim for some malicious intent, then maybe he'll have a shot at it. But some people are saying, hey, she could get off on some sort of technicality here. And again, we'll have to see how that all plays out. But there's a lot of other gears going around here in this, so we'll discuss it. So here's what Jed Wallace had to say. Now, I shared this in one of the previous videos. I shared part of his declaration, but I wanted to share the full thing because, well, look, I get it. If I was Blake Lively's publicist, I would want to get out of this trial too. I understand. But Jed Wallace is interesting because he was revealed, obviously, from the text messages as this fixer guy based out of Texas. Jed Wallace is going to come in. Well, he tells a completely different story. Now, he might not be telling the truth, but he signs this declaration. This is under oath. This is what he's saying. And so if there was any shadow of a doubt that information would come out that would prove this to be wrong, then he could go to jail. This, you can't just lie unless you're Laura Owens. You can't just lie about things like this, right? So my guess is he's telling the truth. I'm believing him. He says, my name is Jed Wallace. I'm over the age of 18 years old, of sound mind, and otherwise fully competent to testify. All of the facts contained in this declaration are based upon my personal knowledge, unless stated otherwise, and are true and correct. And if called as a witness, I could and would testify as follows. I live in and am a citizen of and am domiciled in Texas. And by the way, after we do this, I'm going to share the bizarre I just ate peanuts. I've got a rough throat. It's been a rough week, folks. As soon as we're done with this, I'll get to the Colleen Hoover bizarre story. I have been a citizen of Texas and domiciled there since 2021. I live in Dripping Springs, Texas. Well, the tea is dripping. In late 1991, after attending college at Fordham University, I moved back home to Pennsylvania. Since moving home to Pennsylvania in late 91, I can only recall having visited the state of New York on 4 occasions. Boy, Fordham's beautiful too, right? Those visits occurred in 2007, 2008, and 2024. In December of 2007, I attended a Christmas party in New York City that was hosted by a Florida-based client. Well, I don't know why this is important. The 2008 trip was to visit a friend in Manhattan who had a baby. And in 2008, a friend asked me to visit New York City with him, and I did. And I and my family visited New York City on a family trip from December 9th to December 16th, 2024. I conducted no business on any of these 4 trips. Now, obviously, December 9th to December 16th, 2024 is right before Justin Baldoni was outed by the New York Times, right? So this is a rough time. He says, I do not own, use, or possess any real property in New York. And I think this is his way of saying, I don't want to be a part of this trial in New York, but here we are. In 2007, I formed Street Relations, LLC. In 2008, Street Relations, LLC became Street Relations, Inc., and it was incorporated in California. I've been the sole owner and president of Street Relations since its foundation. Since 2021, Street Relations' principal place of business has been in Texas. At the time it was joined as a defendant in this case, Street was incorporated in Texas, and Texas continues to be its state of incorporation. Street is a crisis mitigation firm engaged by clients to help navigate real-life human crisis, threats, trauma, and mental health concerns. Boy, I should hire them. Street, help me. They're like, just get offline. Street has no registered agent in New York, no property in New York, and no bank account in New York. Since the founding of Street, I've been the only officer and director of Street. Since 2021, all of my work and Street's work have been performed from Texas. Neither I nor Street reasonably expected any of my conduct to have consequences in New York. In no way would I consider myself or Street at home in New York. All right, we get it. He doesn't belong in New York. He's like, I don't even look at the New York Post. I don't read the New York Times. I don't watch the New York Mets. And I'll know, I have read Miss Lively's, and I don't, I don't even watch Saturday Night Live. Nothing in New York. I don't do it. I have read Miss Lively's amended complaint and am familiar with the allegations against me and Street. Prior to the filing of the amended complaint, Ms. Lively filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. I understand that the CRD complaint was provided to the press, the New York Times. The CRD complaint is attached as Exhibit 5, and the complaint attached to the CRD complaint is attached as Exhibit 6. My earliest involvement in my limited role concerning Justin Baldoni in Wayfair was August 2024. I was the only employee of Street that engaged in that limited role. All of that limited work was done by me from Texas. None of that work was in New York. None of that work was directed at New York. I didn't even eat a New York-style pizza. Neither I nor Street posted anything on social media on behalf of the Wayfair parties or about Lively, Reynolds, It Ends With Us, or any of Lively's or Reynolds' businesses. Neither I nor Street have ever asked or directed anybody to post about, comment on, or like any social media posts about It Ends With Us, Wayfair, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and any of Lively's or Reynolds' businesses or families. I never published, directed, or indirectly any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. I have never met or interacted with Lively. I do not have a digital army in Los Angeles, in New York, or elsewhere. I do not have work with or direct a team in Hawaii. I have never been to Hawaii. I have an understanding of what a social combat or social manipulation plan could be, but that is not a service I provided related to It Ends With Us, Wayfair, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, or any of Lively or Reynolds' businesses or family. I do not specialize in executing confidential and untraceable campaigns across various social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, to shape public perception. In early August 2024, I was contacted by Melissa Nathan about Justin Baldoni and potential stories or social media attacks on him. My job was to read, analyze, and assess all forms of media and trends taking place with respect to various issues. This job was in line with my work generally with respect to all forms of media. Specifically for the events related to Mr. Baldoni, my limited job was to conduct analysis of the media climate. In doing so, I reviewed all forms of media. Whoa. I hope, did he check out our channel? Do we count? I analyzed the sentiment of the coverage and then provided updates on my observations. Most times, my feedback took the form of informal comments that I made to Miss Nathan, who I understood to be in California. After passively observing the social media environment, I saw an organic outpouring of support for Justin Baldoni in the film. The observation led to my comment, "We are crushing it" on Reddit. My feeling based on what I saw was that no actions needed to be taken at that time, and that everyone should let the sentiment on the social media unfold organically. In addition to observing that people on social media organically supported Mr. Baldoni, there appeared to be a dislike for Miss Lively based on her tone-deaf promotion of the film. Therefore, my advice was not to do anything at the time and let the sentiment on social media continue to unfold organically. And by the way, I talk to people in public all the time. I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Last night I was in Nashville, Tennessee, New York, California, really Ohio, all over. I've talked to people about this case, and lots of women are calling bullshit on Blake Lively. Like, that's just what you see. And I guess people want to say, well, yeah, but that's because the social media campaign made him feel that way. Okay, maybe. And look, if you're Blake Lively and you get a text message of this guy Jed saying, "We are crushing it on Reddit," then yeah, I can understand that paranoia, but that's not enough to win a lawsuit, right? They're going to have to provide that proof. Because I provided feedback to Miss Nathan, who I understood to be in California, neither I nor Street communicated or caused content to be provided to any journalists, content creators, or media entities anywhere, let alone New York. To be clear, I did not speak to any journalists at the New York Post or to the New York Times regarding the issues set forth in my lawsuit. You know what's interesting is, as a quasi-journalist, whatever you want to call me, I've received messages from people that are definitely trying to get me to report certain things. I got a message from someone trying to get me to report on a Brian Friedman issue, claiming he's about to get disbarred. I didn't report on it, and I won't share the information about it because it's like, okay, well, let's stick to this case, right? If he's getting disbarred, which I don't have any proof that he is, that's not what we're talking about here. And someone would want to share that with me, in some cases, to use me as a little bit of like a pawn for whatever everyone else wants. So you just got to be careful not to be manipulated out there. He says, my role on social media was merely passive observation and analysis of the social media environment as it pertained to It Ends With Us. Lively alleges, amongst other things, that I participated in a conspiracy to commit tortious conduct or unlawful acts against her. I did not. If that conspiracy even exists, which I doubt, I have no knowledge of it because I was not involved. I had and have no desire to torch Lively or her reputation, nor did I act on that imagined desire with anyone. On January 21st of 2025, Lively filed a Rule 202 petition against me in Texas. On February 4th, 2025, Lively non-suited the petition. A true and correct copy of the Rule 202 petition is attached as Exhibit 1. On February 4th, I filed a lawsuit against Lively in the Western District of Texas, asserting claims for declaratory judgment and defamation. So he shares that those claims. He says, travel to and from New York would be difficult financially for me. Not only would consistent travel to and from New York be a major expense, it would disrupt my ability to make a living as I do most of my work in Texas. I believe my financial resources pale in comparison to Lively and her husband. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. Executed March 18th, 2025, Jed Wallace. And by the way, how about this Jed Wallace signature? By the way, I love it, but what an asshole. This signature, it looks, what the hell is that? That is the biggest J I've ever seen. I love it. I mean, honestly, it's a power move. I want to hire this guy now. I need crisis management over how big his signature is. Do you get paid based on how much space you take up on the signature line? Because if so, this guy's a billionaire. All right, so that's that. Oh, I wanted to share Colleen Hoover. So Billy Bush is covering this. So funny. I'm going to cover Colleen Hoover. Billy Bush also interviewed Armie Hammer. Now Armie Hammer, has been they dug up some past quotes of his where he claims he was let go early from the set of Gossip Girl because he didn't have good relations with Blake Lively. Billy Bush tries to get him to tell that story. He's not having it. Have a listen.
You worked with Blake Lively. You were on Gossip Girl for 4 episodes.
I was, yeah.
Did she fire you? Did you get fired? What happened? Why did you leave after 4? You're so handsome.
Listen,
you were like,
dude, listen.
You played
Here's
a
my
douchebag
official
millionaire.
Here's my official take on the whole thing that's going on, is that there is another fight going on that I'm not involved in and I have not been dragged into, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Right.
I've got enough of my own problems before throwing my hat into someone else's ring.
And by the way, that's how I feel when it comes to people that want to beef like content creator to content creator. I'm like, there's enough chaos out there. I don't need to pick any extra fights. So let me know where you need me to apologize for whatever you don't like about me, and let's move on because we don't have time for this.
I'm good.
You have a light blue, powder blue sweater, and you're having some Chardonnay.
I was actually also in acting class with Justin Baldoni when I was 19 years old.
Really?
20 years old. Yeah, I mean, this is almost 20 years ago now.
Did you hang out in between scenes? Did you work lines together?
Yeah, we did like some scenes together, I'm sure. Yeah, he seemed like a great guy. I mean, I didn't really know him that well.
He was nice.
Listen, bro, you're not dragging me into this. I'm not getting involved.
No?
That drama is their drama.
Sure?
I want nothing to do with it.
Are you sure, Hammer?
Oh, I'm so...
I love Billy Bush. Are you sure, Hammer? He said, I'm not doing it. Come on, Hammer. Put the nail down and bang it out, Hammer. Come on. All right. Billy Bush is funny. He's a funny dude. Here's what he has to say about Colleen Hoover. She posted this bizarre, I mean, honestly, like if this was my mom, I'd be calling my siblings and being like, what is mom on? So here's Colleen Hoover. Very bizarre.
It ends with us author Colleen Hoover. She's been silent on Instagram. I don't know what in God's name she's talking about, but she seems schmammered.
It's maybe either a new rock bottom for me or the best thing that's ever come out of my brain. Look at this. I poured Diet Pepsi into my ice cubes.
All right, so by the way, just as far as Diet Pepsi is concerned, Diet Pepsi is trash. Pepsi Zero is okay, but they are not as good as Coke Zero. I'll take a Coke Zero over a Diet Coke, but I'll take a Diet Coke over a Diet Pepsi, and I'll take a Diet Coke over a Pepsi Zero. But I will take piss water over Diet Pepsi, and I stand by that. Now, she's saying you got to freeze it and then you can make ice cubes out of it, which again, that's not the point of the post. Like, we get it. Sure, yeah, that's a very nice, although it makes kind of a mess and everything and it's all that in the freezer. But yeah, I understand the point, freeze your Diet Pepsi, sure. But I think the people are more concerned with the face and why you sound like you just, took 4 shots of NyQuil.
So that I will have the best Diet Pepsi I've ever had in my life.
What are you doing? That's your first post in all of this? How about your post should be, I'm sorry. I believed Blake like everyone else when the civil complaint was filed in California, and then 2 days later, the New York Times writes this article. Read this New York Times thing I told everyone. It's horrible. It's terrible. And then it all fell apart for everyone. Why doesn't anyone just say, I made a mistake? I think we live in a world, we're out of cancel culture now. I think. But we live in a world where if you say you're sorry, I just believe that people forgive you and you'll be okay. But
now I agree. If I was an actor and it ends with us, I'm just staying quiet. Just wait till it all plays out. You might say, well, that's riding the fence. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to just like flip sides and then come to find out maybe Blake Lively gets off and then your career's, it's like, just let it play out. But again, I also empathize with them taking Blake Lively's side early on. I mean, if you read the New York Times article, it's pretty damning. The evidence seemed to be pretty wild. So I get that too. A lot of people don't. They go, oh, they're dunking on him. Well, the evidence was pretty crazy, right? I mean, I'm not saying the evidence, like once we saw the evidence, it wasn't that crazy, but I don't blame people if they were duped by the New York Times, is what I'm trying to say.
Not the half own. You got to own it. So this woman just seems to be falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good take. She seems to be falling apart. All right, we're not falling apart. We're thriving. We've done like 79,000 podcasts this week. So anyway, if you want, I've got last night I did a stand-up show in Nashville. It was fun. It was an interesting show where they do like you do a set and then these hosts come on stage and they ask you questions. And then we ended up talking to the audience about Blake Lively for a while. We talked to different people, and if you want to see the live tape of that, it's probably 20 minutes long or so. I'm going to post it on Patreon, and you can watch it there, just for the private community only. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. I'll have that for you this weekend. Plus, we have the private live stream community all hanging out. So if you want to be a part of that community or just support us, by all means, we welcome you. We'll be back with the Rush Hour podcast. And by the way, the next video, we've got someone who is like a psychologist, and she's pretty pro Blake, which I think is weird as a psychologist that you're not more neutral here, because they're so like, who the hell are we? We're not, we're not their doctors, but pretty pro Blake. And she says there are people that are going to come forward that are going to speak about Blake's claims and be anti-Justin. So pretty messy stuff going on for her to not actually be sharing those receipts. We'll have that coming next on The Rush.